Welcome back to Already Overbooked. My name's Josh, and with the holidays just around the corner, many of us are gearing up for some serious travel time. So, whether you're either hitting the road, boarding a plane, or just need something to make the holiday travel a little bit more bearable, I've got you covered with some amazing audiobooks across different genres. These are stories that will captivate you, and the narrators bring these stories to life in such a spectacular fashion. So, let's get started. So let's start off with some gripping tales of heroism. Perfect for those history buffs. Yes, I'm talking about military nonfiction. The very first book I'm going to be discussing today is Ghost Stories by Hampton Sides, narrated by the great James Knowlton. So, Ghost Stories tells the gripping tales of the 1945 rescue mission to save over 500 Americans and Allied POWs from a brutal Japanese prison camp in the Philippines. These prisoners have endured unimaginable hardships, bringing the infamous Baton Death March, and their survival seemed truly impossible. The narrative follows the brave group of Army Rangers and Filipino guerrillas who undertake this daring mission. Hampton Sides vividly depicts the tensions, the courage, and the resilience of those involved, while James Knowlton's steady narration brings a sense of gravity and urgency to every moment. This is a story not only of heroism, but the humanity that you won't soon forget. Next, we have Legend by the great Eric Bile, narrated by Fred Sanders. This is a true, inspiring story of Roy Benitez, a Green Beret who went on a rescue mission during the Vietnam War that seemed honestly destined to fail. And against overwhelming odds, Roy fought through intense enemy fire to save the lives of his comrades despite being gravely injured himself. And the book details not only the harrowing events of the fateful mission, but also Roy's upbringing and the trials he faced throughout his life. Fred Sanders' narration really goes through and captures the emotional depth of Roy's journey and his extraordinary act of bravery, which earned him the Medal of Honor. It's a tale of grit, sacrifice, and the unstoppable human spirit. Now, if you prefer something a little bit different, say you're interested in biographies of fascinating individuals, we have two amazing books. The first one is Trejo, My Life of Crime, Redemption, and Hollywood by Danny Trejo, narrated also by the author. Danny Trejo's life is nothing short of extraordinary. From a childhood filled with hardship to a young adulthood spent in and out of some of the most notorious prisons in the United States. Trejo's story is raw, it's unfiltered, and he recounts how he turned his life around after a chance encounter with acting, eventually becoming one of Hollywood's most beloved tough guys. His memoir does not shy away from the darker moments, but it also celebrates resilience, redemption, and the power of second chances. And hearing the story directly from Trejo's narrative is so authentic, and his voice carries the weight of the experience, making this audiobook both deeply personal and incredibly inspiring. The next is A Molman by Derek DeGaudio, also narrated by the author. Derek is known for his acclaimed stage performance in and off itself, takes listeners on a really thought provoking journey into his world as a magician and an illusionist. This is really more than just a memoir. It's a deep dive into the concepts of truth, deception, and morality. And Derek goes through and reflects on his childhood, um, learning the arts of sleight of hand and the life lessons he picked up along the way. Through personal anecdotes and philosophical musings, he challenges the boundaries between reality and illusions. And his narration is intimate and deliberate, and will go through and draw you into his unique perspective. If you love stories that really blur the line between art and life, this is a must listen. So, if you are into more of science fiction fans, here we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, narrated by the great Ray Porter. This thrilling, science packed adventure follows Ryland Grace, a school teacher turned reluctant astronaut who wakes up alone on a spaceship with no memory of how he got there. And as the story starts to unfold, Ryland discovers that he is humanity's last hope to save Earth from an impending disaster. And armed with his wit and scientific ingenuity, Ryland embarks on a desperate mission to find a solution. Ray Porter's narration perfectly captures the tension, the humor, and the wonder of Project Hail Mary, which really brings every twist and scientific revelation to life. So the next one we have for you for science fiction is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey, narrated by Jefferson Mays. This first book in the Expanse series is an epic space opera blending mystery, political intrigue, and jaw-dropping action. The story alternates between two main characters. We have Jim Holden, a captain of a small crew on a freighter ship, and Detective Miller, a jaded investigator tasked with finding a missing girl. Their paths go through and cross when Holden's ship stumbles upon a vessel carrying a deadly secret, sparking events that threaten to ignite a war between Earth, Mars, and the Belt. Jefferson Mays delivers a masterful narration, juggling multiple characters' accents seamlessly while amplifying the tension and the emotions in every scene. I can honestly tell you that Leviathan Wakes is such a gripping story about survival, humanity, and dark truths that lie in the void of space. This is a must listen. It is so good if you're a fan of science fiction. So, if you are not a fan or you look for something a little bit different, maybe fantasy is what you're looking for a long trip. I've got two amazing stories that will help you get lost in some magical realms. The first one we have is The Powder Mage, or specifically Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan, narrated by Christian Rotzka. Set in the Revolutionary era, where gunpowder meets magic, this trilogy kicks off with The Promise of Blood. The story follows Field Marshal Tomas, who stages a coup to overthrow a corrupt monarch, only to face political intrigue, betrayal, and the mysterious prophecy that threatens his newly established republic. The world is rich with unique magic systems, including powder mages who harness gunpowder to gain enhanced abilities. Alongside Tomas, we have a bunch of amazing cast, a sharpshooter, powder mage, an investigator drawn into the web of conspiracies. It's nonstop amazing characters within this story. And the narrator, Christian Rotzka's gritty narration really captures the rawness of the battles, the tension, and the depth of the characters, making the world of Powder Mage feel vivid and alive and lived in. Such an amazing job. The second fantasy story that I'm going to go through and talk about today is The Wandering Inn by Pirate Abba, narrated by Andrea Parsoniou. This sprawling episodic fantasy centers on Erin Stolzis, a young woman from Earth who finds herself in a fantastical world filled with monsters, magics. Erin becomes an innkeeper in this dangerous land where she must learn to navigate their strange new reality while building a community and surviving against overwhelming odds. The series does an amazing job with blending a slice of charm with epic fantasy stakes, offering a mix of heartfelt moments, humor, and intense action. Andrea's narration is a force, bringing each of the many characters to life with distinct voices and accents, immersing you into a massive and emotional journey. It's perfect for fans of character driven stories and long form narratives. The story is truly fantastic and pulls you right in from the first page. Now, if you're more of a fan of historical fictions, I have some richly detailed stories that should catch your interest. First one we have is Mythos by the great Stephen Fry, also narrated by Stephen Fry. In this captivating retelling of Greek mythology, Stephen Fry breathes new life in the ancient tales, making them accessible and engaging for modern listeners. Mythos covers the creation of the world, the reign of the Titans, the rise of the Olympians, and the weaving in and exploits of Zeus, Prometheus, and the other iconic Greek figures. Fry's storytelling is really greatly infused with wit, humor, and deep respect for the source material, making these timeless myths feel really fresh and relevant to modern audiences. His narration is a master class in delivery. He switches seamlessly between the gravitas of epic moments and the lightheartedness of the god's more whimsical escapades. So, if you've ever been curious about Greek mythology or simply want an entertaining audiobook with historical depth, Mythos is an ideal choice. The next historical fiction is The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell, narrated by Jonathan Keeble. This epic novel is the first in the Saxon story series set in the ninth century England during the Viking invasion. The story follows Uhtred of Bebbanburg, the son of a Saxon noble, who ends up getting captured and raised by Danes. And as Uhtred grows up, he finds himself really torn between the two cultures, the Saxons, whose land he was born to defend, and the Danes, whose really way of life he's learned to love. So, with a backdrop of political intrigue, brutal battles, and a quest to reclaim his ancestral home, Uhtred's journey is both personal and epic. And Jonathan Keeble really captures the raw intensity of those stories, bringing to life the harshness of the time period, the fierce loyalty of the characters, and the intensity of the battles. The Last Kingdom is a gripping tale of loyalty, identity, and survival, which is a perfect fit for anyone that's into historical dramas. So next we have up is horror. So if you're into a little bit of horror during the holiday, I got two books for you. The first one we have is Nosferatu by the great Joe Hill, narrated by Kate Mulgrew. This chilling horror novel takes you on a journey into the terrifying, festive, yet grotesque world of Christmas Land. It is a nightmarish place created by the sinister Charles Manx, who is a vampire-like figure who uses his Rolls Royce to abduct children and transport them to this twisted holiday paradise where they go through and start losing their humanity. The story follows Vic McQueen, who has a supernatural gift of finding things through a magical bridge, and Vic crosses paths with Manx, which becomes entwined into a dark battle of wills. Years later, Vic must face her greatest fear to save her son, who is captured by Manx. This story is honestly the perfect blend of horror and holiday creepiness, sure to give you a little a little scare during your holiday travels. The second horror book is Devolution by Max Brooks, narrated by a full cast of different narrators. In Devolution, it is an intense and horrifying tale of survival set on a remote, high tech eco community in Green Loop near Mount Rainier. The story unfolds through journal entries and interviews after a volcanic eruption that devastates the area, cutting residents off from civilization. What begins really as a tale of isolation and disaster quickly turns into a fight for survival when the community starts encountering a pack of feral, violent Sasquatches. The audiobook features a amazing cast that really brings the characters to life, from the tech savvy but unprepared residents to a chilling growls of the creatures stalking them. It is terrifying and so much fun. Now, if you're more of a thriller fan and you want to stay on the edge of your seats with some fast paced listens, I have two amazing stories for you. We have The Defense by Steve Cavanaugh, narrated by Adam Sims. This story revolves around Eddie Flynn, who is a formal con artist turned defense attorney, and he has to use both his skills learned from being a con man and also in the courtroom to really blend them together for the ultimate test. The story begins when Eddie's being forced to defend a notorious mob boss in a high stakes murder trial. Now, the twist is the mob kidnapped Eddie's daughter and they rigged him with explosives to ensure he complies. And he has 48 hours to save his daughter and himself. Eddie must use, again, every trick in the book, both legally and illegally, to outwit his captors and survive the courtroom battle for his life. And Adam Sims, the narrator, brings the fast paced action and razor sharp dialogue to life. He does such a good job with capturing Eddie's wit, desperation, and cleverness. The story is packed with twists and turns, and it's going to keep you guessing till the final verdict. The last book is Orphan X by Greg Hurwitz, narrated by Scott Brick. In this story, you're going to go through and follow Evan Smoke, also known as the Nowhere Man. He is a formal black ops assassin who has left his government program behind to help those in desperate need. And in Orphan X, Evan is drawn into a new mission to help a woman being hunted by dangerous criminals. But things quickly spiral out of control as he unravels the mystery behind her pursuers. Evan must also face the ghost of his past, particularly the program that trained him and the people who want him dead. Scott Briggs' polished narration really captures Evan's stoic demeanor, sharp intellect, and all the moments of vulnerability. This story is action packed, electrifying, and perfect for fans of high octane actions with morally complex heroes. So there you have it. My top audiobook picks to keep you company during the holiday travel. So whether you're in the mood for heart pounding thrillers, fantastical adventures, or thought provoking biographies, there's something here for everybody. And audiobooks are perfect way to make those long hours on the road or in the air really fly by. So if you are interested in listening to any of these after this video, please let me know down in the comments which one you're going to check out first. If there's other audiobooks that you enjoy that I did not mention, please add down in the comments. I'm always looking for a good audiobook for long car rides. So thank you so much for watching. And if you are traveling, have safe travels, happy listening, and don't forget to like, subscribe. You know what to do. Until I see you in the next one.